In this video, we will set up Active Directory from scratch on Windows Server. So there are certain requirements that we need to complete before we proceed. So the first one is we need to log into server as local administrator. So the account with which we have logged into the server that should have admin privileges. Then the server should have static IP address assigned. And then we need to also set a host name for server. That would be the computer name. So once these three requirements are fulfilled, then we can follow two steps to set up Active Directory. So the first step is to install Active Directory domain services role and DNS role. And then the next step is to promote server to domain controller. So we will do this one by one. So first we will open CMD, that is command prompt. And if I type host name, I will be able to see the current computer name that is set for this server. So this is the name. So this is the default name. So we need to change this name. And the first requirement is we need to log in as local administrator. So let me confirm if I have logged in with local admin account or not. So let me type who am I. So currently I have logged in with this account. So this is the computer name followed by backslash administrator. So if I go to computer management and then local users, under local users, I see one account with the name administrator. So this is the built-in admin account for this computer. So this same account we can see here. So I have logged in with the local admin account. And the second requirement was server should have static IP address. So for that, we will go to, we will open server manager. Then in server manager, I will go to local server. And here we see option as Ethernet. So currently IP address is assigned by DHCP. So there is no static IP as of now assigned to this server. So click on this option and that will open network connections section. Okay, you can also go to network connections through control panel. So here we see the network adapter that is connected to the server. So right click this adapter, go to properties, then double click Internet Protocol version 4. And here we could see currently it is set to automatic. So we want to set a static IP address. So select this option, use the following IP address, and let me type one IP address. Okay, so I have selected this particular IP address here, 192.168.88.10, and the subnet mask would automatically appear because this is a well-known series for private IP addresses. So subnet mask comes up automatically. And then I can also add gateway address, which is normally the first address in the IP address range. So I'll set it as 88.1. Then we have to also set DNS server address. So normally if Active Directory is installed, then along with that DNS role is also installed. So this server will be the domain controller and it would also act as a DNS server. So preferred DNS server would be the same IP address. IP address that is assigned to this server, that would be preferred DNS server address. So I'll type the same address, that is 88.10, and then click OK. Okay, so it's asking me if, so in this case, I'll just say no, that's fine. And now if I type ipconfig, I see the address that I have assigned. So this is the static IP address. And if we type ipconfig/all, then we also see the DNS server address, which is same as that of static address that we have set for the server. Okay, so our second requirement is also done. Now the third one is to set host name. So we currently have auto-generated host name, so we will change that. So go to server manager, and here under computer name we see the auto-generated name. So click on that, click on change, and here we'll set name. So I will just set the name as DC because this will be a domain controller server. So I'll set the name as DC and then click OK. And it will ask us to restart the computer. Okay, so we will restart the computer so that all these changes come into effect. So now the computer restart is done. I will again log in with the local admin account. I can see the new computer name, that is DC. We can also see the static IP address that we have set. And we have also logged into the server with local admin account. So now we will install Active Directory domain services role, and we will also install DNS role. So go to manage, then click on add roles and features. Then click next. So it asks us to select installation type. So we will select role based or feature based installation. Then here we will have to select the server on which we want to do the installation. So currently we just have one server. So that server is displayed here. Server name and its IP address is displayed. So we will select that and click next. Now we will have to select the roles that we wish to install. So the role that we want to install is Active Directory domain services. So as soon as I select that, it asks us to also install some of the features that it requires. So we will also install all these features, and we will also select this check mark to include management tools and then click on add features. And along with Active Directory domain services, we will also select DNS server role. Again, we will include management tools and click on add features. So both these roles are selected now. Now click next. Here we will keep default settings. So whatever is selected by default, such as group policy management, all those things we will keep it as it is. then click next, then again next, and here it just shows us the summary of whatever roles we have selected, and then click on install. Okay, so now installation is done. It says installation succeeded on DC, and it also says configuration is required. So we have option as promote this server to a domain controller. So we need to select that option. So let me click on that option. And now we have three choices here. First one is add domain controller to existing domain, then add a new domain to existing forest, and then add a new forest. So in this case, we are installing server in a new forest. So we will be creating a new forest and that will have a new domain. So this is the first domain controller or first server in the forest. So we will select third option. We have to also type root domain name. Okay, so I will just give a name as say my domain dot local. Okay, since this is a lab environment, so I'll just I'm giving the name as my domain dot local, which will be the first domain in this forest. Then click next. Now here it is asking us to select functional level of new forest. So we will keep this to default because we don't have any other servers with the old operating system in this environment. Generally, you will have to push down this functional level if you have any older server operating systems in your environment. But that's not the case with us. So we will go with the default one, which is server 2016 in this case. And then the next option is to specify domain controller capabilities. So since this is the first server in the forest, this has to be a DNS server because we will need at least one DNS server in our environment. So, and we are also installing the DNS role. So this server will also host the DNS service. So this option is selected, and global catalog is also selected because every forest should have at least one global catalog server. So since this is the first server, this also has to be a global catalog server. So these two options we cannot uncheck. These are grayed out. So these are selected by default. The third one is also we cannot check because the third one is for read-only domain controller. We cannot have read-only domain controller in absence of a writable domain controller. So since this is the first domain controller, this has to be a writable domain controller. So this option is also unchecked. And then type directory services restore mode password. So we'll have to create a new password and set it as restore mode password for this domain controller. And then click next. Then again click next. We don't want to create any DNS delegation as of now. Then click next. The NetBIOS domain name is again displayed automatically, which is my domain in our case. Then it will show the location for database and log files folder and also for sysvol folder. So we will keep these location as default locations. So again click next. And now it shows us the summary of whatever options we have selected. Then click next. It says that all prerequisite checks passed successfully. Click install to begin installation. So we'll click install. So it says server was successfully configured as domain controller, and it will be now automatically restarting. So now restart is done. Now if you see here, we could see my domain backslash administrator. So it has prompted us to log in with the domain administrator account instead of local admin account. So now we will log in with the domain administrator account. Password would be same as that of local admin account. It's just that your local admin account is now also the domain admin account. So now if you see here in domain section, it says my domain.local instead of work group. And we can also go to tools and check if required Active Directory tools are installed or not. So the most common one is Active Directory users and computers. So if I go to tools and select Active Directory users and computers, then here I see the domain name, mydomain.local, and we can see some built-in groups. Under domain controllers section, we could see DC, which is this server, which is configured as domain controller. And in users, you will see some default user and group accounts. So from this console, you can manage user accounts and computer accounts and groups.